All right, so you've spent all this time, weeks, maybe even months, playing data detective. You've been digging through the clues, hunting down patterns, but what's the point of solving the mystery if you keep the solution to yourself? Today, we're jumping into the final, and I'd argue the most important step of any data project, actually communicating your results. And I love this quote because it really nails the transformation that happens at this stage. You stop being just an analyst who's swimming in numbers, and you become a storyteller. You're weaving a narrative from all those facts and figures you worked so hard to uncover. It's a total shift from discovery to delivery. So what's the secret sauce? What separates a decent data presentation from a truly great data story? Well, it's not about having the fanciest charts or the most complicated model. It's about making your data connect with people, getting them to see the world the way you now see it, and ultimately inspiring them to do something about it. And that's exactly what we're going to break down. I want you to imagine a detective who cracks this incredibly complex case, but then never files a report. The mystery is solved in their head, but for the rest of the world, nothing changes. It's pretty much the same thing with data analysis. Your amazing insights don't really go anywhere if they aren't communicated clearly and effectively. This is where the rubber really meets the road. It's that critical moment where all your hard work turns into something tangible, something that can drive action. You're not just showing off data points. You're handing over the evidence and a roadmap so that stakeholders can make smarter, more confident decisions. Every great data story really has four main goals. First, you got to share the what. The big discoveries, the surprises. Then you explain the how, your methods, which is how you build trust and show your work. Next, you have to answer, did it work? Did you actually hit the project's goal? And finally, you guide the what's next, the clear, concrete actions people should take because of what you found. Okay, so how do you actually build this compelling case using your data? Well, it's definitely not about just throwing every single chart you made at your audience and hoping something sticks. No, it requires a structured process. Think of it like a lawyer carefully preparing their closing argument for the jury. So here it is, a 7-step roadmap for putting together a powerful and persuasive data report. You can think of this as your checklist to make sure your findings aren't just interesting, but that they're also credible and, most importantly, actionable. Let's walk through some of the key parts of this journey. First things first, you have to start with the big picture. Did you actually do what you set out to do? If the goal was to cut customer churn by 10%, this is where you say, point blank, whether you hit that number or not. That one piece of information gives crucial context to everything else you're about to say. Next up, you gotta grab their attention with your headline findings. Don't bury the lead. You wanna start with those big aha moments. A simple, powerful statement like, our data shows that customers buy 30% more on weekends is a headline that everyone can understand immediately. But hang on, here's a question that every good analyst has to ask themselves constantly. Is this pattern I'm seeing a real thing? Or could it just be a random coincidence? I mean, just because two things seem related in the data, how do you know for sure it's not just a fluke? And that, my friends, is where statistical significance comes in. It's basically the math we use to tell the difference between real signal and random noise. For example, if you flip a coin 10 times and get 7 heads, that could just be luck. But if you flip it 1,000 times and get 700 heads, okay, that's statistically significant. It tells you the coin is probably biased. It's the same idea with our data. It tells us when a pattern is strong enough to actually trust and act on. Now, the rest of these steps are all about building trust and planning for what's next. You explain your methods so people see how you got your answer. You talk about how the model could be even better, which shows you're always thinking about improving. You're open about the challenges you faced, which builds transparency. And then you recommend the next steps. It all shows you're not just a data cruncher, you're a strategic partner. So you've built this solid, structured case with your data. Awesome. Now it's showtime. It's time to actually bring that story to life. But what are the best tools for the job? You've got a whole bunch of tools in your toolkit here. You could use an interactive dashboard that lets your audience explore the data for themselves, or you could use a classic slide deck to guide them through a story step by step. The real key is picking the right tool for the right audience. A busy executive might just want a one-page summary, while your fellow analysts might want to dive deep into a dashboard. Because that's the magic of all this, right? The ultimate goal is to take something that's really complex and make it feel simple and clear. It doesn't matter how messy the data was or how sophisticated your analysis is, the right communication tool can bridge that gap and turn a tangled mess of numbers into a single, brilliant insight. Which brings us to the final and most important question of all. So what? Why does any of this really matter? The answer is simple. The goal is to drive action. We do all this work to inspire change and have a real impact on the real world. A number like 92% accuracy in predicting customer churn isn't just a cool stat to put on a slide. It's a massive business asset. It means you can actually get ahead of the problem. You can reach out to customers who are at risk before they leave, maybe with a special offer, and potentially save millions of dollars. That's the power of turning a number into an action. And that's why this final phase is so incredibly critical. Without it, your brilliant analysis is just a bunch of numbers sitting in a spreadsheet. But with a compelling data story, you turn potential into profit. You turn insights into impact. And you prove, without a doubt, the value of all your hard work. Because at the end of the day, being a data storyteller isn't really about being a numbers person. It's about being a meaning maker. It's about finding the human story that's hiding inside the data and using that story to build a better future. And that's a skill that can change absolutely everything.